The war is officially over. At least the version of the war we've been watching for 2 seasons. The version where titles and lineages still hold weight. House of the Dragon Season 3, Episode 1, Salt and Sea, Fire and Blood, doesn't just feel like a premiere. It feels like the opening act of an extinction event. For 2 years, we've watched kings and queens maneuver across a political board. They forged alliances, traded insults, debated the fine print of succession, and schemed in the damp shadows of the Red Keep. But tonight, the board is now flipped. The pieces are shattered, and dragons have finally shed their veneer of majesty to become what they actually are, weapons of mass destruction. So today, we are breaking down the premiere in a chronological sense, dissecting the secrets, the shifts in power, and the catastrophic death that makes the point of no return for the dance of the dragon. So we are breaking down episode 1 of House of the Dragon, season 3, episode 1. Let's dive into this. This is the Loreverse. I'm so excited. Welcome to Loreverse Breakdowns. So the episode opens far from the Red Keep's toxicity in the crags of the mountains of the moon. This isn't peace though, it's a power acquisition. For 2 seasons, Rhaenyra has been the perpetual observer, the Targaryen with a mount watching others claim the sky. The claiming of Sheep Stealer is a masterclass in tone, unlike Vermithor, the Bronze Fury, or the bond shared by Jason Vermax. Sheep Stealer isn't a royal creature. He's a scavenger, a beast of the wild. Note the lack of dialogue here, right? We aren't watching a coronation. We're watching a negotiation between two apex predators. Sheep Stealer doesn't submit. He tolerates, and most Targaryens operate under the hubris that dragon riding is ownership, a divine right. And this episode humbles that notion. It isn't ownership, it's a high stakes, lethal relationship. And when the dragon drops prey at Rhaenyra's feet during the hunt, it's not service, it's instinctual protection. It's parental, primal, and deeply unsettling. A dragon that acts like a wolf or a lioness, guided by hunger and territorial instinct rather than a rider's command, is a nightmare waiting to happen. And Rhaenyra thinks she's gained a weapon, and in reality, she's tethered herself to a force she barely comprehends. And the tragedy is that while she's busy feeling empowered, she's actually just a passenger on a ride that will eventually go off the rails. Now, let's shift to the mud of the Riverlands, where Aegon, the Conqueror's legacy, is reduced to a man on the brink of death. Aegon is stripped of the pageantry of kingship, the burns, the milk of the poppy, the pathetic reality of a body failing its master. And the Duskendale ambush is the crucible of really this premiere. Many fans are screaming betrayal, but that's a surface level take. Larys isn't choosing loyalty, he's choosing math. And that carriage, they were all dead men. To the black soldiers, they were just witnesses to be silenced. Larys' genius in his ability to turn a suicide mission into an asset retention program. Now, by revealing the king, he stops being a target and becomes a bargaining chip. He sacrifices freedom to ensure his own survival, pivoting from a shadow in King's Landing to the man who holds the most valuable hostage in Westeros. Now, back in the Red Keep, Aemon Targaryen stops playing Prince and starts playing Monarch. The way he feels the power vacuum left by Aegon's disappearance is almost chilling. There is no mourning, no pause. He doesn't look at the crown and see a burden. He sees his true inheritance. And this isn't a usurper taking the throne. It's a man who has genuinely convinced himself that he is the protagonist of history. He is sharper, more disciplined, and significantly more dangerous than his brother. And Westeros is about to learn that while Aegon was a king of ego, Aemon is a king of calculated, cold-blooded intent. And if Aemon is ascending, right, Alicent is crashing. Olivia Cook's performance here is almost devastating. She is a woman who realized too late that she isn't the architect of this war. She's the victim of it. The forged letters aren't just a plot device. They are the final death of Alicent's integrity. She spent decades weaponizing the law, and now to save her own skin, she's the one burning the law to the ground. She's a prisoner of her own lies at this point, forced to navigate a court where her only remaining lever is the one thing she should have kept sacred, the relationship with her son. And the confrontation between mother and son is the true horror of this episode. It isn't a battle of swords, but a battle of emotional attrition. Alicent knows Aemon's fatal flaw, his profound, desperate need for validation, and she weaponizes her own maternal affection to manipulate him, and the result is profoundly uncomfortable to watch. She's selling pieces of her soul to keep the peace, not realizing in doing so, she's stripping herself of the very humanity she's trying to protect. Now, let's go to Daemon, because Daemon, right, has officially completed his arc, right? The wandering, the hallucinations that Damon of Harrenhal, all that stuff is dead. What remains is a razor sharp, lethal strategist. When he deals with Jason Lannister, he's not speaking in riddles anymore. He's speaking in ultimatums. He has embraced the necessity of the war, and that clarity makes him 1,000 times more dangerous than he was in early seasons. The visit to the Isle is at its most gothic, right? Alice Rivers isn't just a character, she's an omen. Whether her power is psychological or magical is really irrelevant. She creates a reality that the characters cannot resist. And look at Off the White. His arrogance is a ticking time bomb. The dragon scenes are a social experiment that is inevitably going to fail because they don't share the culture or the discipline of the true blood Targaryens. And Off's resentment is the crack in the foundation that will eventually bring the whole house down. And so Dragonstone, let's go to Jace, is where the tragedy hits home. Jace believes he's leading, but he is actually just acting out of a desperate youthful need to be the hero. And by overriding Rhaenyra's caution, he doesn't just put himself in danger, he blindsides his mother. And when Rhaenyra screams, it's not the cry of a queen losing a soldier, it's the visceral, gut-wrenching sound of a mother who knows she's just sent her heart into a meat grinder. And this is the spectacle. And now we have the Ballad of Gullet, right? So this is the spectacle here, but beneath the visuals is the philosophy of chaos. War is not a ballad of dragons, it's a slaughterhouse of confusion. Nobody knows who's winning, and that's the point, right? The cinematography captures the sheer scale of the horror, reminding us that in the middle of the dragon fight, individual skill means almost nothing against the indiscriminate nature of fire. And the underwater struggle of Alan of Hall is the most grounded moment of the episode. There's no fire here, just the cold, suffocating reality of the sea. And by saving the sea snake, Alan reminds us that while the dragons are duking it out, the fate of the realm is being held together by the men who have to live in the wreckage they create. The bastards of the Driftmark are the ones who will inherit what's left in the world. And look, the inevitable does happen, right? Rhaena's lack of true control of Sheepstealer turns the tide of the battle into tragedy when the dragons stop when the dragon stops recognizing Team Black and starts recognizing prey, the war loses its structure. It's a perfect visual metaphor for really the entire show. They think they are masters of the dragons, but they've only ever been the fuel. And here is our anchor, right? Jace's death is not cinematic. This is the saddest, one of the saddest moments in Game of Thrones history because it's a sudden, messy, and fundamentally, unfair death. There is no monologue, no final defiance, just the cold mechanical reality of war. The music drops, and for a second, you pray for a miracle that isn't coming. It's a harsh reminder that in the Game of Thrones universe, good intentions are usually a death sentence. And Jace, the sad thing about his death is Jace was the future. He was the only person who could have bridged the gap between the Velaryons and the Targaryens, between the past and the future. And without him, Rhaenyra isn't a queen looking to rebuild. She's a mother looking to annihilate. And the political path to peace is gone. It's dead. It is now replaced by the only thing left, vengeance. So by the time the credits hit, the map of Westeros is literally a graveyard. Aegon is a prisoner. Aemond is a unhinged king. Alicent is a hollow shell. And the heir to the Iron Throne is at the bottom of the gullet. The illusion of a dignified war died today. And what remains is a dance of ash and bone. Fire and blood isn't just a motto anymore. It's an obituary for everyone left standing. So I want to know, what was you guys' breaking point this episode? The death of Jace or the moment Aemond finally took the throne? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. We'll be breaking down every single episode right after we see it. Just want to say 10 out of 10 episode. I really loved it. I'll talk to you guys later. Stay crispy and peace out.